So what's up with Labor and the Greens? Why do they hate each other so much? Why did Labor prefer electoral defeat, as was the case at the Tasmanian election on the weekend, rather than strike a coalition deal with the Greens to defeat the Liberals? Did they prefer to be in opposition than have anything to do with the Greens? Why the antipathy? This is a long-standing rivalry. The numbers are clear. They could have struck a deal, although Jackie Lambie she had 2 seats that she could have given to the coalition. She was in talks there. But in any case, Labor chose not to do a deal with the Greens. They chose to be in opposition. This in a country where disengagement with the major parties is becoming a real thing, where minor party rule may well be the future in Australia, not merely a 2-term trend. Federally, we've seen either minority governments or 1 or 2 seat majorities, slim majorities, for well over a decade now. If a coalition arrangement is good enough for the Nationals and the Libs, why not Labor and the Greens? The word is the decision to spurn a marriage with the Greens in Tasmania was made at the post-election Labor administration meeting in the wake of the defeat, and old Labor hardheads such as the former Premier Paul Lennon, still smarting at the last time they tried to work together with the Greens, they put the mockers on it. Bad memories, and also very difficult given the 2 most powerful lobbies in the state, logging and pokies. How could they work with the Greens, the logging and the pokies lobby? They're just too far apart on policy, as is the case federally. Labor and the Greens have been bagging each other for years. The most notable fracas was when the Greens voted with the Liberals, for different reasons, to shoot down the CPRS, Kevin Rudd's climate emissions initiative in 2009. The flip side is all the times that Labor has voted with the coalition to shoot down sensible Greens proposals, whether on integrity, climate, Gaza, AUKUS. The list is long. In terms of policy, rather than posturing, the Greens are effectively Labor's opposition, not the Libs. It's not a matter of personal animosity. They probably get on well down there outside the chamber. Just politics. In the chamber and in the media, it's pistols at dawn. Labor is closer to the coalition on policy than the Greens. Of course, the Greens enjoy the luxury of little corporate influence through donations. They can afford to be more purist, and they are more purist. Can you imagine where the coalition would be without the relentless, inexorable campaigning by the News Corp press and the other 2-party patsies in the mainstream media? Can you imagine if they barracked for the Greens? So the coalition has no compelling policy to speak of. They would be gone were it not for their ally, Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation and the others. Yesterday's heroes they would be. Imagine if the Greens had this. They're getting it a bit through the fragmentation of the media, through TikTok and Instagram, the younger generations. Labor is no longer the party of the left, though Murdoch's chipmunks might decry Albo as hard left and everybody as hard left and radical left and leftists. That's just nonsense, arrant nonsense. Albo knows the key to staying in power is holding the centre. Australians vote at the centre. Libs have been pulled to the right by Murdoch. It's the Greens on the left and Labor dead set in the middle, if not a little bit to the right in terms of policy. And that's why it's red from coast to coast in Australia. Labor in every state and the capital. Every state except for Tasmania, where they almost got beaten and would have had Labor done a deal with the Greens. And the Teals, meanwhile, and other independents who sensibly govern, by and large, in the interests of their electorates, the wealthiest in the country. So they're not really left on finance, but mostly progressive. Save the planet, save our franking credits. It is a multi-party system, the future. Well, despite efforts by the media oligopoly and the political party duopoly to preserve the status quo, the two-party regime, which has allowed Albo to squat right in the centre and govern competently without vision or risk, it would seem so. This is a trend, not a flash in the pan, by the looks of it. Labor hasn't topped 40% in 10 elections, except for the Kevin 07 frenzy. The Greens last pulled a nationwide vote of almost 12%. They have House seats, and they have 2 House seats, 2 states, and impressive gains in the Senate gives them legitimacy like they have not had before, although both the Libs and Labor are against them, and the media too. In the Dunstan by-election, which comes up this weekend in South Australia, yes, another by-election, the trend towards minor parties is shaping up there too, with the Libs headed for an historic defeat and the Greens surging in pre-polls by almost 9%. It is a thing. Meanwhile, the Teals look as though they could regain all 9 seats at the moment, according to sources who cite internal polling. They remain popular in their electorates. They've worked hard. They've come up with some good stuff, and insiders reckon they can hold all 9 seats, although electoral boundary changes are hard to predict and may affect Kailea Tink in Sydney's north. The Simon Holmes Accord, the inspiration behind the Teals, the Teal brand, not the Teal Party, the Teal brand, has done a terrific job there to maintain the brand, choosing competent candidates who are on board on 3 things, essentially, on climate, gender equality, and political integrity. They can do what they like on tax or Gaza or education or asylum seekers and so forth, but on those 3 principles, they need to be progressive. At a time when there is record distrust in institutions generally, and this is a global thing, thanks to a more fragmented media, not such unified mainstream media messaging, it would seem that politics will be more fragmented too, which in the main is a good thing, though some lament it. They say, look at Spain, look at Belgium, it's a mess. But minority parties and independents tend to govern at the mandate of their constituents rather than be shackled by corporate donors and party solidarity on every damn issue. Jackie Lambie, her success is testament to that too. Like her or lump her, she has authenticity. Voters connect with that. She connects with voters rather than corporations. Authenticity is an increasingly valuable commodity, and with the rising distrust in government, fossil media, and large institutions of power generally. And amid the hardship of the housing and cost of living crisis, younger demographics are more engaged politically, even if only on TikTok or Instagram. So it is that the trend is not the friend of the political duopoly, and unless the coalition retreats from its nutjob anti-science infected scaremongering politics and drives into the centre, the fat lady will be singing for the boys in blue, and a couple of girls too. Even then, if the trend continues, Labor could be forced into the loving embrace of the Greens. Thank you for your support. Please like, share, comment below. Throw us a few bucks on Patreon if you can afford it.